water in the river kept surging. It did these surges of, at first it was simple. It was a foot, 2 feet, and then all of a sudden it rose up about 3-4 feet, and then we knew that we had to get out.
But then it would kind of recede. It would stop raining,
Right.
and maybe a half an hour later it would recede 2 or 3 feet. And so we just kept thinking, well, if we go to bed, it can't get much worse. We were
Right.
just thinking like, okay, it's gonna have to be a wall of water more than 30 feet. What we
Right.
didn't know, it was gonna be a wall of water 30 feet.
Right.
But we also didn't realize that we were gonna get hit from behind the house in a mudslide.
And so when the mudslide happened, I was up first, and I got to Michelle, and I kicked the door in, and I freed her. We saved our dog Kayla, and then we started working on our neighbor Eric and his wife. They both were buried underneath the first wave of water. Before I kicked the door in,
So
Eric,
they were under debris mostly, and
Yeah,
then
and
water
water on
filling
top
up with
of them.
water after that.
and what happened was, had I not kicked the door in, Eric was already up to his mouth,
wife, Michelle,
and she
was
pulled
holding his head
up
above
so
water.
he could breathe. And then I kicked the door in, and
Behind
that relieved
me.
the whole pressure off of Michelle, so the mud stayed at that height, but everything that was building up went out the door.
And what we didn't realize until later is it also relieved the pressure off of them, because they were
Right.
they were in a room behind us, closer to the mudslide, buried. And Michelle worked herself free, went over to Eric in the water, held his head up. We didn't realize that the door was going to be the thing that saved everybody.
Right.
I had Kayla, who was
I
our
pulled
dog.
Kayla out of the mud. She was buried up to her chest in the mud, lifeless, completely lifeless. I pulled her up and handed her to Michelle, and I said, Michelle, Kayla's dead. She's lifeless.
So I
She's
just was
dead."
holding what we thought was a dead dog for the longest amount of time. And Steve started digging, and it's kind of it's chaos. What people don't understand is
Yeah,
it's
it's
like
chaos.
it's being right next to a freight train,
Yeah.
noise-wise, things still coming down, water coming down.
Right.
Everybody yelling because you're trying to get a pinpoint of where everybody
Right.
is. So you're yelling back and forth and back and
Right.
forth and trying to tell people in other rooms where you are. And poor Gurpreet was running back and forth helping both groups of people.
Yeah.
She helped Steve pull a rock this size off of me with Steve.
3 of them that size, actually. I remember Michelle telling me, Steve, I don't want to die this way. And I said, Michelle, you're not going to die that way. And that's when I went and punched the windows out, and then that didn't relieve any pressure, so I kicked the door in, and that's when it went down.
It's really a miracle. Where I landed really, I think, helped save everybody, because had I hit against a wall, we'd all be dead, because
Yeah.
the house would have just continued to fill up and nobody would have gotten out.
And Michelle's amazing because the adrenaline, she hit the doorknob with her L2 vertebra, and as she did that, she got a compression fracture. So she ran, got the shovels, ran, jumped the fence, got the shovels, ran and got Jeff to come and help us rescue Eric. She did that all with a broken back.
And Gurpreet and broken ribs, and Michelle
Right,
also,
2
the
broken
other
ribs.
Michelle also broke her ribs.
The ceiling height was about 3 or 4 feet, and what we had to work in, it was dark. Water kept coming in, we were cold. It's unbelievable that we all got out together. And we even rescued the pets. It took us 2 days to put the whole family together, but then we finally did, and we hiked out of here and we got on the Black Hawk, all as a family. And we left, we were always, Salina is so tight. We are not just neighbors, we're a big family. And I don't
a
think
huge
people,
community after the fire. I mean, we were a community before that, but everybody's so bonded now, and everybody's boosting everybody's spirits and offering people places to stay and food and clothing, and people are staying in
Right.
our houses and protecting them from
Right.
looters, and
Right.
everybody's patrolling. So it's almost like in this disaster we have a neighborhood watch going on. And people wonder why we want to live through a fire or stay up here after a fire and after the flood in 2011 and now after this devastation.
Yeah.
But it's like we can't
They're our
imagine
family.
living anywhere else.
Right.
This is our family.
These
You know,
are-
we've been here 22 years and some people longer than us. And
Right.
you can't imagine leaving. You can't imagine leaving, even with
Right.
this kind of devastation. Until this weather pattern
No.
happened, I don't think anybody could have predicted
This
a
is
500-year
unforeseen.
flood or whatever this turned out to be. I mean,
Right.
you know.
We're just happy we got out alive. We got everybody who went into that cabin came out.
Yeah.
We finally put all the pets back together. Thought all the pets were gone. At one point, I thought, Michelle, in 30 seconds, I would lose everything I had. I thought I would lose my best friend and my wife, my love of my life. I thought I would lose my 2 unbelievable dogs, both of my cats who give me so much comfort. I thought I had lost everything. I was on the way to losing everything. And I fought. You find a way. When something you love so much is going to be taken away from you, you find a way to save it.
And
to
you don't
keep
stop.
it.
I mean,
you don't stop.
our
No.
neighbor was trapped. We weren't going to stop whether
No.
the house fell on us or not.
No.
I mean, it's a dangerous situation, but you're in it, and you're not going to leave. You're not going to leave anybody behind. And I
Right.
think that's how this community feels now for rebuilding. Is
Right.
no one's getting left behind.